Welcome back, everybody. Take a break with Stephen Shamus.
Good to see you, my friend Alex. How are you?
Wonderful. Every day.
Got my Terps hat on. I'm representing my
Terps.
nephew and niece again.
Mm-hmm.
Go Terps. Yeah, I will say I don't really follow it that closely, so I don't know how they're doing.
They have a good football team, usually pretty solid. Some pros come out of there. Their basketball team's good.
All I know is Boomer Esiason and there was a Clint Eastwood movie many years ago where they take the hill, and the big dude that he beats up in the movie, that guy was a Maryland football player. I'm gonna look him up for the next time.
Was Maryland football player?
No. I'm gonna look him up the next time. I think it was called like The Mountain or something like that. I'll look it up the next time.
Good football players. Yeah.
All right, Alex, what do we got on tap for today?
Yeah, we're gonna have a fun one. We're gonna talk a little bit more about some Star Wars people. We're gonna talk about Aelin Vel, who is a daughter of somebody. I'll wait until we get there. Batman Who Laughs Last, which is an interesting one. We're going to talk more WandaVision, and then we're going to clear it out with Strange Academy.
Yeah, Strange Academy has had some massive price increases. Yeah. And I will tell you, doing our research on this one was very complicated because Umberto did so many of the covers, and J. Scott Campbell did covers, and then this one was only available here, and this one was only available there. So we're going to try to straighten it out for you and let you know what's what. Because if you just say Umberto Ramos cover, it's very confusing. And there's a lot of different covers, and there's a lot of first appearances in that. And I do wonder to myself if that's going to be like the Young Avengers, but we will talk about that when we get to it.
Yep, thought the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, good. All right. So what are we starting with, Alex?
Yeah, let's jump right into it. Let's talk a little Batman Who Laughs Last.
Yeah, I mean, that storyline really took off last year for DC. Why don't you fill us in, Alex, a little bit about what that story is and how it had it seemed to just keep going and going and going. It seemed to have this extended shelf life. Like, it felt like it was going to be this, and then it just kept going. So why don't you talk to us a little bit about what it is?
That happens a lot with characters when they're introduced and they're thought of just like, oh, this is a miniseries, here's this new characters. And then there's so much fanfare for that character that they just continue on. As we're recording this podcast, I think the last Metal miniseries has just ended. But in the beginning of the Dark Knight Metal series by Snyder and Capullo and a whole bunch of other people, they created a character called Batman Who Laughs Last. And this is a alternate universe Batman who, think of our Batman that we know and love, who gets infected with Joker serum and stays in his system, and any scruple Batman has now is gone. So he's killing people, he's killing his villains, he's out of control. He's a Joker and Batman combined.
Right. And it's amazing. Again, it was probably supposed to only be one storyline.
Yeah.
But it seemed to really strike a chord. Popular. It struck a chord with people. Do you have a feeling as to why or how that happened, or is just struck the right nerve, the chord at the timing?
It's the perfect soup, right? There's a bowl of soup and it's comic books, and they're like, oh, Batman's popular, Joker's popular, boom, Batman villain. It's the same character. It's Batman and Joker together. I mean, it's one of those characters that, and I think this is why it's kind of a spec book and why the characters continued on. It's just such a neat idea, and so much you can do with that character, with other villains, with fighting Superman, joining Lex Luthor in the Legion of Doom. There's so much you can do with it that it's just a fun character to run with. And it reminds me of a few years ago when they did Flashpoint and they did the alternate universe Batman, and it was, instead of Batman's parents dying, Bruce Wayne died, and Thomas Wayne became Batman and his mom became Joker. They both dealt with the pain differently. And that was, people love that. Everybody fan cast Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne Batman. So I think it's just, you're in that same vein.
Got it. Okay. So the first appearance was back in 2017, November, Teen Titans number 12. There are actually, it's a very expensive book with a decent size pop on it.
High,
yeah. Teen Titans was always a popular title, so it doesn't surprise me. 625 blue label 9.8s, 49 gold label 9.8s. That's an $800 book. And so that you're aware, it's got a Stepan Sajic cover. Did I say that correctly, Alex?
Yeah, Stephen Sajic.
Oh, Stephen. Okay. So again, you got to be aware because there's different versions of his covers, right? So that's the basic cover. Interestingly enough, there's a cover B version that he did, which is a white background. That's how you can tell the difference. And Alex will show you the photos when we get on, when we're on the air. The white background one is cover B. Interestingly enough, there's 114 blue label 9.8s. There's 11 gold label 9.8s, but that book is only selling for $300. I don't know. I guess it's the main cover. That's the most popular one, even though, even though the pop is 5 times as large. Okay. Then, of course, they came out with the second print in March of 2018. It's got the same Stepan Sajic cover. It's cover A with a red background. Okay. There are 55 blue label 9.8s. There's one gold label 9.8. That book is only selling for $140. So that seems like a pretty good buy.
Yeah.
Because you and I know what's happened to the other second prints.
Yep.
And that one should be something that you pick up. Interestingly enough, there was a convention. And again, it's not marked as a second print. So sometimes they hold the books too. We've done this also where you order the book with the first print, but your show isn't for 2 or 3 months. So you'll hold it. So it's still considered a first print. But in May of 2018, the NC Oak City Comic-Con did a foil cover. Okay. This book is very hard to find, Alex. I got to tell you, it was not easy to find. Now, as we've said in the past, when you have these books and even if there's 2,000 or 3,000 copies printed, it was probably 3,000 copies because that's usually the minimum run on these exclusives. They all go to one location. We've talked about this many times. They go to one location, they get handled professionally and softly and delicately, and they get pulled out and inspected and put it in. So the pop is pretty high on the CGC versions. But I got to tell you something. I cannot find raw copies of this book. Yeah. So it's a good buy because for the price you're going to pay and the rarity, I do think over time they're going to vanish. And we've talked about this before, like when we did the Young Avengers Wizard World variant, where it was an exclusive VIP, or the Hulk 1 Red Wizard World LA variant, where there were so many that were given out at that show on that day in CGC form. But over time, they tend to vanish, but you can't find them raw. Yeah. Okay. So there are 619 blue label 9.8s, almost the same as the first edition. 43 gold label 9.8s, almost the same as the first edition. And that book is only selling for $170.
Not bad.
So and by the way, it's cover A, Stepan Sajic. It's cover A foil, which is what DC tends to do a lot. They like doing the foil on the convention variant.
Yes.
Yeah. So that definitely feels like a good pickup, even if you can get it raw. But I will tell you, even in 9.8 at $170, that's a good buy. Those books are not easy to come by.
No.
They've already sort of made their way out in circulation.
Exactly. They're not coming out anymore, longer.
All right, cool, Alex. What do we got next?
Yeah, let's talk about Alan Vell.
Right. So as we keep sweeping through the Star Wars universe, we keep, I would say, discovering, rediscovering. You know, we've got all these new Star Wars projects coming out. You see all these characters that are either coming back. We've seen the Boba Fett's go crazy. We've seen the Lando Calrissian stuff go crazy. We've seen all these characters that, all these characters that we've seen, Rosario Dawson and, all these just blow up on the pricing. And so in particular, let's talk about, why don't you talk about the character and then we'll talk about the books.
Yeah. So in the old Dark Horse canon, Alan Vell is the daughter of Boba Fett. And I think what's going on with this book specifically is, first of all, they're hard to find. Second of all, with what Disney is doing with Star Wars, with the book of Boba Fett being announced, with all of these miniseries, the publishing, everything that they've shown, I don't think anything's off the table. Even though canonically, this is not part of the Star Wars universe anymore. It's all new stuff since Disney bought it. It doesn't mean that these characters can't be brought back. I mean, the perfect example is Thrawn. When Disney bought Star Wars, they wiped all the canon. The old books are gone. They said all those books and old stuff doesn't count anymore. It's only the movies. And then they brought Thrawn back in the Rebels animated series and in the comic book, and he's going to be a villain in the Ahsoka Tano series. So none of these people are off limits anymore, especially with Boba Fett being back and having his own series. You never know.
Right. So, sadly, we lost Jeremy Bulloch. So the first appearance is Star Wars Tales #7, March of 2001. And you forget, it's 20 years ago already.
Yep.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah, these weren't the main Star Wars books. Yeah.
The first print, 9 blue label 9.8s, one gold label 9.8, one recently sold for $550. Look, I don't know that you're going to find them. And also, they chip easy, the old Star Wars books.
Yeah.
And then, Alex, there's a Jeremy Bulloch movie photo cover.
Yeah, it's a good one.
There's 11 blue label 9.8s, 2 gold label 9.8s. That book also has sold recently for about $550. I will tell you, I would bet the 2 gold labels are Jeremy Bulloch signed.
100%.
I got to tell you, I'm surprised with all the appearances that Jeremy did over the years that there wouldn't be more of those.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's thousands upon thousands of 8x10s, but yeah, not a lot of comics.
So I think if you're one of the 2 people that have a gold label and it's signed by Jeremy, who even knows what that could sell for? I'm waiting to see if one of those come up. It's probably in private collections though.
Definitely.
All right, cool. So that's another Star Wars. We will keep on the Star Wars train week by week, month by month, as these characters keep coming out. And again, if you out there in podcast land, if you think of any Star Wars characters that we may have missed or somebody that you want us to cover, just shoot it in the message in the comments field. All right, what do we got next, Alex?
Let's talk a little WandaVision.
Yeah, so we put this off a little bit. And I think we're far enough away from the first few episodes where there's spoiler alerts are now out the window. We wanted to kind of wait and see where the series developed. We knew certain characters were kind of sort of going to be in the series. There was definitely some speculation early on, but for whatever reason, when it actually happens, I think people wait for it to happen. And then once it happens, it's like, wow, that's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. Okay.
So I know we're going to give some spoilers on WandaVision. If you haven't seen it yet, maybe mute it for a minute or two, because we're going to talk about some major character development in this. So before I get into the books, why don't you talk about the first appearance characters that first appear in Vision #1, Alex?
Yeah, Vision, the Tom King and Wada series, the series was completely out of nowhere. And the fact that it wasn't like after this Avengers book happens, this is the next thing. This was like, okay, here's Vision, here's his family. He created a family. He created another Vision like himself, Virginia. He created his kids, Viv and Vin, and they moved to a suburb of DC where Tom King is from and where I am from. And they live in this neighborhood, and it's kind of them inserting themselves in this neighborhood and what goes on. The kids go to high school with regular kids. They have neighbors that come over. It's especially the first couple issues, the neighbors that come over for dinner are like confused and don't know. And it's very reminiscent of the first episode where the boss, Vision's boss, comes in with his wife, and they kind of have to like play off each other of like, oh, we're normal people. So it's very interesting that this series, is helping bring along the story of WandaVision.
Right. One interesting casting note: the woman who plays Dottie, the sort of the mean neighbor, is Emma Caulfield.
Yeah.
From Buffy.
Yep.
Alex, where did they pull that one out of?
It's great. More Buffy actors in Disney movies and shows.
No, I know, but like, where did they pull that one out of, Alex?
Yeah, it's great.
Did you know that before the series or not?
I had no idea Emma Caulfield was in it.
And like,
we were watching it, and me and my SO were like, hey, it's Emma Caulfield. It's Buffy. It's Anya. Anya's right there.
Anya, right? It's Anya. Wait, what's Anya doing in WandaVision? All right. So Vision #1, January of 2016. It is interesting that they didn't really try to go back too far on some of these series. Again, predicting some of this stuff is tricky because, you have all these different series throughout the years. And then it's like we talked about Loki a couple weeks ago. It's really the Vote Loki that we see. And then boom, those books just skyrocket.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is really the series right here, Alex. This is the money series. January of 2016. It's got the Michael Del Mundo cover. It's a great cover. I love the cover. First Virginia, Viv and Vin Vision. And we're not going to spoil too much of the show. You probably have seen it already, but you're starting to see some of those characters appear. Okay. There are 171 blue label 9.8s. There are 45 gold label 9.8s. That's a $300 to $325 book. Now, my personal opinion is when you look at all the covers, that's really the cover that features the family.
Right.
And I know the other ones might be more expensive because they're rarer, but I would go with that one.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the cover. I think over time, right. It's a great cover. Now, the other ones are great covers too, but because they don't show the family, I don't know what the value is. We'll see. We'll see what happens in the long term. So then you have the Vanessa Del Rey hip hop cover, which is awesome. There are 21 blue label 9.8s. There are 7 gold label 9.8s. That's about a $200 to $225 book. Again, even though it's much rarer, it doesn't have the family on the cover. Okay. And then one of my favorite artists in the comic industry, I'm not sure why he doesn't have more covers. I don't understand why he's not doing more stuff. I tried for years to get him to the shows. I couldn't get this guy to come. Always made me sad. Marcos Martin, the 1 in 20 variant cover, 12 blue label 9.8s, 4 gold label 9.8s. That's a $600 book. No shock there. Marcos is a stud of an artist.
Yeah.
One of my favorite artists. He lives in Spain. Just couldn't get him to come to the US. Too bad, right? He would do some European shows, like 1 or 2 a year, but couldn't get him to the US. And then the last one is the Ryan Sook 1 in 25 variant cover. That's an awesome cover.
Yes.
There's only 29 blue labels and 11 gold labels, and that's a $925 book.
It's crazy.
So all these books are hot. All these books are very tough to find. Me personally, I buy the $300 to $325 Mike Del Mundo cover. That's the one I'm looking for, even in raw form. So, all right, cool. All right, Alex, we've come to the time of the show. Alex's pick of the week. What do you got for us, Alex?
Yeah, we always talk about second, third, fourth printings, and we love them, and it's great, and you know how hard they are to come by. And I want to talk about a new publisher. New publisher came out called Bad Idea. That's the name of the publisher. They are doing things a little bit differently. All of their books will never be in trade paperback. They're never going to be digital, and they are doing all their first prints as in you order a copy of number 1, you're also getting every single subsequent issue with that order. So if my store orders a number 1 for me, I'm getting all 6 issues no matter what. That's how it's dealing. Saying that, their first prints are going to be very tough to find because only a handful of stores, I believe it's 140 stores, are carrying the books. That's it. Nowhere else. So unless you know those stores to go get a copy, you're not going to get them. So they just came out and announced that after the first wave of books coming out, ENAC 1, the subsequent printings will not be second, third, fourth prints. They're just going to say, here's the first printing. This is what you got. And then all the subsequent printings are just going to say, not first printing. That's it. So for the foreseeable future, if you order the ENACs, they're all going to say not first printing. So it'll be very easy to tell the difference because it's on the cover, but it's an interesting way to have the collectability of your first print and first runs, and also get the people that just want to read the book another copy.
And what's the creative team on the book?
It's Matt Kent and Doug Braithwaite.
Yeah, Matt.
Two of the nicest people in comics too. They're the most gracious people
I've been bothering Doug for months. I keep emailing him and he doesn't respond to me. I want to buy that Future State Batman cover.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's great, right? That Future State Batman he's working on is fantastic.
Doug does not sell a lot of his artwork. It's tough to get him.
The story is?
Yeah, he does not.
He respond to me.
He keeps it.
Alex, if you know him, tell him to respond to me.
I'll ping him. But yeah, I mean, again, and so that book's going to be amazing to begin with.
Yeah.
And I think the collectability is automatically there.
Yeah, the Future State Batman, I think, is going to be hot too, by the way.
Totally.
Because you know they're going to do something with it.
Yeah.
You're going to put an animated series. Yeah.
I think the Bruce Wayne Batman as a movie trope, I think if they started doing the Batman Beyond as a movie, if they do the Tim Fox as a movie, it's only going to make that franchise bigger and better. And so why not?
Yeah. Right. 100%. All right, Alex, what do we got next?
Strange Academy.
Okay, so as we mentioned in our opening, it feels like Young Avengers.
Yes.
Right? That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
They've introduced a whole batch of characters. And, Marvel doesn't do this stuff by accident. Right? This is not like, oh, yeah, we're just going to launch this book and put 6 or 7 new characters in it. And like, yeah, whatever. We're just going to make, like, they're like doing this to build, right? Yes. They're going to do something. It's tied to Doctor Strange. Umberto really embraces and owns this series.
Yeah.
Just owns it. He's done a great job with it. It's got a whole bunch of new characters. I'm going to let you read the name of all the characters, And if there's anything in particular about one of them versus the other one of them, feel free to bring it up, and then we'll go through all the different books.
Yeah. So, like you said, Strange Academy, it's a school for magicians or magical people from Doctor Strange. So again, awesome. But like you said, Young Avengers. I mean, it's the first appearance of Emily Bright, first appearance of Doyle Dormammu. Might sound familiar to some people. Shaylee Moonpetal, Zoe Lavie, Calvin Morse, and Desi. These are brand new characters in a first issue. There's a reason why this book is hot. There's a reason why you look at Young Avengers and the future of Marvel TV, Marvel publishing, of what books like this bring to the world.
Right. And there's actually even more characters. There's Eirik and Toph.
Right.
It was Zoe and then Alvi, which you said, and then Gooselog and German. So there's a lot of different characters. And you know they're going to do something with them because they don't just throw this stuff out there. So we're going to take you through it. It's going to be very, very tricky. So I'm going to try to be very clear about which versions are which, because it's very, very difficult to tell. And let me tell you something. It took me forever to figure out version by version of each of these books till I actually physically saw them, and I will identify them for you so that you're not confused out there in podcast land. All right. You ready, Alex?
Let's do it.
All right. May of 2020, Strange Academy #1. It's the book. The creative team is Scotty Young and Humberto Ramos. Great team. It's a great team. It works. The white background cover, is the main cover by Humberto Ramos.
Right.
Okay. There are 811 9.8s. There are 33 gold label 9.8s, and that's about a $250 book. Okay.
A lot of pop.
Then there's an Arthur Adams variant cover, which you could just order. Okay.
Open order.
There were 167 blue label 9.8s, 4 gold label 9.8s, and that's about $200. It's a pretty cool cover.
Yep.
Then there's the Humberto Ramos design wraparound variant cover. It kind of shows the different character sketches. Maybe, I call them studies.
Right.
That's what I call them. They call them design wraparound variants. I guess what happens is, and I don't know this for sure, is when they're first mapping out what they think the characters should look like, and they kind of create these samples and these maybe 360, almost like toy design poses. Marvel's been using those designs lately for their covers, and they're calling them design variants. So they're pretty cool. They look like studies, I would call them.
Yeah, they're fun.
Yeah, they're fun. So there is that cover is mostly black and white. There's one piece of spot color on one of the characters. Okay. There are 285 blue label 9.8s. There are 9 gold label 9.8s. That's about $150 book. It's pretty cool. I still prefer the white background main cover.
Right.
But okay, that's where you are. Then you have the J. Scott Campbell variant cover.
Right.
Now he sells those through his store. So the signature series is pretty high.
Yep.
J. Scott Campbell has an unusual deal with CGC. One of the very few or only creator that I know of where CGC will accept his store signatures with the stickers and the verification for signature series. Very unusual that they do that. Jeff has a deal with them to do that. It's great. There are 430 blue label 9.8s. There are 80 gold label 9.8s. That's about a $110 book. That was an order. There was no ordering incentive for that book either. Okay. Scotty Young had an exclusive book on scottyyoung.com. Okay. There are 203 blue label 9.8s. There are 66 gold label 9.8s, and that's about a $90 book. That Scotty Young book, the one that was on scottyyoung.com, is a white background cover. Why are you saying that? Because there's also a Scotty Young variant cover. Okay. And there are 156 blue label 9.8s, 30 gold label 9.8s, and that's about a $110 book. Okay. Then, my opinion, the nicest cover of all is the Humberto Ramos 1 in 25 variant cover. Agreed. It looks like he did watercolor or acrylic. I don't know. It's beautiful, right? It's a great cover. That to me is the best cover. 229 blue label 9.8s, 9 gold label 9.8s. That's $350. Now that was a 1 in 25 variant. The next one is crazy, Alex. And I love Jerome Pena.
Yep.
The Jerome Pena 1 in 50 variant cover.
Yeah.
158 blue label 9.8s, 12 gold label 9.8s. That book has been fluctuating on the rise between $775 and $1,000 now.
Bananas.
So these books, I think people really think there's something going on there, right? I mean, are they using these characters?
You can't not. Again, especially with what Young Avengers has been doing and what they're using those characters for. Yeah, definitely.
What's going to happen when Kate Bishop is on TV? Right?
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that book. You
Yep.
read it here. Okay. Then there is, then Comic Mint did an exclusive variant, and Peach Momoko did the cover. So there's two versions. There's a regular Peach Momoko, and then there's Peach Momoko Virgin. And unless you've been sleeping for the last 6 or 9 months, Peach Momoko is doing the cover to everything.
And
her
she
books,
should.
And her books are selling out, and her upper deck cards are selling out.
Yep.
I don't know if she sleeps, because outside of Alex Ross, I have never seen production at a high level.
Every company, DC, Marvel, Image, and Deep Blue just came out this week. Peach Momoko Virgin cover. Star Wars, like every company has Peach Momoko working for them,
and her upper deck
they
set.
should. Yeah.
And by the way, she did sketch cards in the upper deck set.
I know.
Those are hand drawn. I don't know if she sleeps. I don't know what she does, but you have never, like, I remember when Alex Ross was just on one of those tears, right? Where it was like, and we did an Alex Ross special back in the day. The book is this thick.
Yeah.
And you see the DC book of Alex Ross, it's this thick.
Yeah.
And you just don't, the guy's churning it out. And, it's one thing to churn it out, but it's another thing to churn it out at a high level.
Right.
I don't know that we've seen somebody churn out at a high level like this since Alex. Like just the volume.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Jim Lee does a fair amount of covers, but Peach is like hundreds of things are coming out. It's crazy.
It was almost like a year and a half ago. Everybody was contacting her before they knew that they needed her, and she was just already doing this stuff. She already has 40 Strange Adventures covers in the background because she's just like, I'm just going to do all this fan stuff anyways, and hopefully they'll pay me for it.
It's crazy. Okay, so Comic Mint Edition A, 447 Blue Label 9.8s, 56 Gold Label 9.8s. It's about a $240 book. They did not release the print numbers on those. I don't know. I'm assuming it's 3,000, 1,000 because that's usually pretty typical.
Yeah.
The Comic Mint Edition B is the Virgin cover, 159 Blue Label 9.8s, 102 Gold Label 9.8s. There's actually 2 Blue Label and 1 Gold Label 9.9. But the 9.8 sell for $460.
Mm-hmm.
Then Comic Mint did a version C of the J. Scott Campbell cover as a Virgin cover.
Right.
I'm telling you, it's all over the place, Alex. So there are 418 Blue Label 9.8s and 197 Gold Label 9.8s. That's about $110. Again, J. Scott Campbell, because they accept it through the mail, which is very unusual, that's why his signature series are a little bit higher. Yeah. Okay. Now, we have another Humberto Ramos cover. They did an exclusive version for Walmart. Believe it or not, that book is not that hard to find. Maybe Walmart, again, there's a lot of Walmarts out there.
Right.
So there's 194 Blue Label 9.8s. There are 10 Gold Label 9.8s, and that one is $130. That's a different Humberto cover than the other Humberto covers, by the way. Just so you know. So I lost count. I lost count, but it's like
already
4 or 5 different. Yeah. Right. There's 4 or 5. Not like, oh, this one's Virgin, this one's color. No, there's like different covers.
Yeah.
Okay. Then Francisco Herrera, who is Humberto's inker.
Mm-hmm.
Humberto and Francisco would always come to the shows together.
Mm-hmm.
And they would sit next to each other. And Humberto would pencil and Francisco would ink a lot of cases, or color, both. Was it coloring or inking?
Both.
Both, right?
Sometimes both, okay. Yeah.
Sometimes both. Okay. So the second print Francisco Herrera cover came out in June of 2020. There are 261 Blue Label 9.8s. There was only 18 Gold Label 9.8s. That one's only selling for $50. I think that's because the series is so closely affiliated with Humberto. But then the third print came out 4 months later, which is unusual. They don't normally do that. October of 2020. It's a Humberto Ramos cover. There are 81 Blue Label 9.8s. There are 8 Gold Label 9.8s. That's only about a $50 book. Then Unknown Comics did a Virgin cover of the third print Humberto cover. Okay. It's Doctor Strange. It's the one with Doctor Strange in the corner.
Right.
The Virgin one, it's on a white background. There are 66 blue label 9.8s. There are 9 gold label 9.8s, and that's about a $60 book. So there's some good buys in these second and third prints, by the way. Then there's a fourth print Humberto Ramos cover, 32 blue label 9.8s, 0 gold label 9.8s. That's $60. Then Unknown Comics did a virgin version of the Humberto Ramos cover for the fourth print, 10 blue label 9.8s, 0 gold label 9.8s. That's about $60. Maybe some fatigue set in at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
And then the fifth print is Humberto Ramos black and white. So they took one of the other Humberto covers, they made it black and white.
Yeah.
30 blue label 9.8s, 0 gold label 9.8s. That came out in January of 2021. That sells for $90. So here's what's interesting. The first version came out in May of 2020.
Yeah.
The fifth print came out in January of 2021. You don't normally see that wide a gap. Normally they let it go and they move on with their lives.
Yeah.
Do you remember why or recall why they would have released it so late, or the demand was just crazy for it?
Demand. I mean, again, you're talking COVID times. It's a little bit crazier. Some people weren't able to make it to the store to pick stuff up, and it never hurts to have a number one of a series. Even if you're at I think issue 8 just came out. Even if you're at issue 8, you still can sell issue 1s to people to be like, try this out. If you like it, we're on issue 8. The trades out. There's 6 issues in there. I'll start you at 7. You can start reading at 7 on for single issues. Like it's easy to tell people, to have people try something out for $3, $4, and then sell them on the trades or the next floppy.
Got it. So your goal is to get one of all of them.
Yeah, of course. I mean, who only has one of the one printing? You got to get all of them. That's collecting. That's how you collect.
Great. All right, Alex, I think that does it for today. This was another fun show out there. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comments field. Yes. We will see everybody next week. Same bat time.
Same bat channel.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, guys.